Oh, your goodness. What? What? What do you mean it's not in here? They can hear me, but not you? It's it's just me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drawclass. I'm Julia. I'm gonna teach you guys how to
I'm here.
draw
I'm here, I think.
faces. Um,
Am I here? Can people hear
can
me?
can people hear Julia?
Hi. Me? Me. Is it me time?
Oh, they hear you
Okay,
now. Good.
cool. The fun thing about my computer being a hub for several different kinds of streams is that I have to log in for SSS, and then I have to log in for the Drawfee Monday streams, but
hmm
then the ones for the exclusive streams are different. So
We're learning.
I always gotta mess with it.
It's an educational experience for us as well.
Yeah. Hi
Um,
everyone.
Hello. Can you believe to learn that we're gonna do a learn?
We're gonna learn today.
Well, you're gonna do a teach. You're dressed in your best professor garb, and I'm here.
I'm a professor.
I'm audience surrogate Nathan, who is also here to learn. I
My
will be
blazer has elbow pads.
asking questions, trying to draw along based on the lesson you give, and I think I'm excited. I think I'm excited, and also I am excited, both.
People are saying that there's a hum on mine. It's because Nathan's using uh the cool microphones that we use for work. And then I'm using my little guy on my desk. I just put a noise suppression on mine, so maybe that worked.
Maybe. I hope
Yeah,
so.
I'm using my little.
The noise suppressor helped a lot.
Jacob says the noise suppressor helped a lot. Thank you, Jacob. Is it?
Thank you,
Do I
Jacob.
sound? Do I sound okay now? Okay. I got a thumbs up.
People people are saying it's better
Good.
now.
I'm sorry that it took me a hot
It's our
second to
first
figure this
one of
out.
these ever.
It's our
It's our
first
first one
draw
of these
class.
ever. And thank you all for supporting us on Patreon,
Yeah,
first and
thank you so much.
foremost.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
For people later, for when this goes out in a month. First of all, hello from the past. Second
Oh
of all,
yeah.
this is something that we did of a live stream, and if you aren't familiar, we do draw classes on the Can You Believe to Learn tier of our Drawfee Patreon. So if you would like to get a once a month personalized live chat, you can ask us live sort of tutorial on things that we will teach about. Go sign up.
This is cool. We're like talking to people in two different times.
I know.
We can interact with chat live, but we can also address comments to people watching in the future. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. It's very cool. Um so today I'm going to teach how to do uh some of my face runes,
Yeah, and
which
I'm gonna learn.
and
Teach me.
Nathan's gonna read from the chat and ask some questions, and I will try to answer any questions as best I can. Um,
Mad Hat Trick says I am both live and in the future, so hi twice.
nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, this live stream is also very small, so it's like a little personalized class
Yeah.
where you can learn and ask questions, and
A symposium.
yeah. Um,
Is symposium.
uh-huh. I suppose this is suppose.
A symposium.
Jamie, yeah, go for it. I mean, don't include the link, obviously, but tell people to join in if they have
Yeah,
not.
if they're in the tier, they can
So,
be here.
to explain kind of what we're doing,
hmm
I think good timing is that the celebrity sketch artist episode came out yesterday.
Oh man, and your face drawing in that is so good. So
Thanks.
on point.
It helps that I know these basics. So basically, what I'm going to do in this one is to teach like the most basic, like to like a textbook T, how to draw a face, how to draw a head using like the measurements and proportions and things. And then of
Hmm.
course people don't fit 100% into that model, but
Right.
every time you say like, oh, they have long ears, you think that they have long ears because they don't fit into this kind of,
It's
dream
long
proportion.
long compared to the ideal proportion or
Right.
these base
This
proportions.
model
Gotcha.
basically. So like if you say the forehead is bigger, like what are you comparing that to? You're comparing it kind of to this average. This is like the average, ideal by measurements standard.
Maybe I'll get so good at understanding faces that I'll become good at celebrity sketch artist from this class.
That would be cool. I do love wide
That would
pupil
be
though.
cool.
I'll
It's
just be
always
excited if
fun
people can learn from this.
when people quote back the things I say. I'm like, oh, this is nothing I've said is helpful.
Someone made
Nondescript mouth, nose right down the middle, eyelashes go up and down around the eye.
Yep.
It's
They
like,
go up
yeah,
above the eye and down below the eye.
down below it. It's not wrong. It's just not helpful.
It's yeah, but it's just like basically the kinds of questions that I ask in Celebrity Sketch Artist are because I'm thinking about this model,
Cool.
right?
Well, I'm excited.
So I hope that I can explain this well.
All right.
But here's how
I'm
I
just gonna
learned it.
go along
Yeah,
with what you're
go
doing.
along with me. We will learn together. So you just want to start off with a circle,
Okay.
and then you want to cut that circle down the middle,
Okay.
and that's going to be your center of the face line. It's where we're going to measure from,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all that jazz. Also, if you are drawing along and want to send them to me, yeah, tweet them at me, Discord at me. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what everyone does.
Yeah.
So then you want to split the circle again horizontally.
Okay.
And this is going to be the line where, the way that I learned it, it's where the eyebrows are going to sit.
Okay.
People's eyebrows, of course, because people don't fit perfectly into this average, is that, they're going to float around that. So if you have a longer forehead, maybe your eyebrows are going to sit below that. If you have a shorter forehead, it's going to sit above that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of this is where your eyebrows are going to sit. It's also where the tops of your ears are going to sit, because your eyebrows line up with your ears.
I did know that one.
Yeah, so that's where that's going to be.
Cool.
If you go to the middle of this section, so that you're cutting this again in half, right?
Okay.
That's where the middle of your eyes are going to be. So you can do that on
Yes.
both sides.
The middle. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes, yes.
And you're just like sort of eyeballing the
Yeah.
middle of these.
Yeah, because it's not, it doesn't have to be exact.
Like if you want to take a ruler and like measure the exact center, that'll be the most precise. I'm just sort of eyeballing.
Yeah, that's what I'm
these.
doing. I did use the circle tool for this circle because
Yes, I'm just copying you.
because sometimes when I draw circles, they're like a little taller than they should
Right.
be.
Yeah, it's hard
Which
to
always-
draw an exact perfect circle. If you're drawing non-digitally, best of luck to you. If
Yeah.
you have a digital drawing thing, use them shapes. Why
Use
not?
some shapes. I'm just going to extend those a little bit. So then if you go down a little bit from the top, and it's only going to be like a little touchy,
A little touchy.
that's where your hairline is going to start on your
Mhm.
head. And then of course there's going to be like hair that goes up, So then
So far this looks like the scope on like a high-tech future gun.
high-tech future gun, or like a submarine is going by.
Yeah.
Boop.
But
Okay.
somehow a face will emerge from this.
Somehow a face will emerge. So then if you go up almost the exact same distance that you did for the forehead line, but from the bottom, that's where your nose is going to end.
That's nose zone.
That is nose zone. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So then I think what a lot of people do, and I usually don't do this, but you can go like down and that'll kind of get you your, you know, shape here. And then you can, that's
It's
where
an
you
ice cream cone.
It's a little ice cream cone. You can make a little ice cream cone from the circle. The reason I usually don't do this diagonal is because there's no good way of measuring out the angle of the cone, because a lot of people can just, you know, cut it real short and then you just got a really short chin.
Yeah.
So I usually don't do that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is your base. This is your
All your base.
So then I'm going to do this in a different color just so people can see. I'm going to do this in this blue. I'm trying to pick colors that are nice and distinct but won't blind you.
Right,
Not that this neon green is helping.
I'm gonna color overlay a little green as well. Maybe I'll make mine a little bit bluer, more of a cyan. I'm making mine a cyan.
Make yours a cyan.
So now we're going blue.
Yeah, why not? A nice.
Okay.
A nice.
A perfect blue.
Yeah. So okay, so now we got this blue, and just so everyone knows, I'm using the graphite stick 2 for the rest of this. This is what I used in the video from yesterday.
I'll do that too.
Okay,
That's a Kyle.
Yeah, I'll write it here.
That's in the. Bit is that? Is that in the drawing box?
I believe so. Yeah, it's the drawing box.
Graphite stick. There it is.
The graphite stick
2.
2.
I got it.
Ooh. It's a nice brush that takes a little bit of adjusting to, but the harder you press.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Any brushes for Procreate? Yeah, there's a few really good sketching ones that I use. I think I use the HB. The HB is really good for this. I actually like it more than even this one, but this is the closest that I could find. So let's start drawing this face.
Okay.
So you usually want to leave like a little triangle of space, right? And then you want to leave a little bit of space on this side, about equidistant from this line, right? So if you have this little distance here, so then I usually just make a nice little eyebrow shape, whatever eyebrow shape you want to do. I do a strong brow.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, right on the line. So
yeah.
It goes up a little bit, but then it...
This is how I learned. I know that some people put the eye on that line. Sometimes they put the eyebrow just below that line. Yeah.
Because like the eye, I learned it that the eye is sort of right in the middle.
Okay.
And
yeah.
So this circle is like the top part of the face, and then it's gonna like, sort of this vertical line is what extends down to where the chin's gonna be, basically.
Yeah, because also I draw very stern men naturally, so I think that I put the eyebrow on this line because I'll sit it closer to the eye. Like if you want a little bit more distance between the eye and the eyebrow, you'll float this up a little bit more.
Make your person look more surprised.
Yeah. So then I'll just repeat this eyebrow shape as best I can over here. And if you want it to be perfectly symmetrical, I say go for it and do a copy flip if you're doing it digitally.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But, you know, no one's face is perfectly symmetrical. Have you ever seen those like Photoshops where people do like a perfect flip of a celebrity's face and it's horrifying?
No, I haven't, but that
When I was
sounds like it, yeah.
when I was looking up things for today's class, this will be a dude face, yes. I have some examples that we'll do.
We're summoning Handsome Jeff.
I'm starting with my comfort zone,
Yeah, that makes sense.
which is a handsome dude face. So then
Start by teaching stuff you're confident in teaching.
yeah.
Makes sense.
So then I
We're
usually
doing
like
eyes now.
yeah, I like to do the eyes. I like to do this kind of wedge shape.
Yeah, and
right?
the way so like the highest point on the eye is right there where you drew that line.
Because the way that the eye works is that I'm gonna draw a little diagram here. Here's your eyeball.
Oh.
This is like where your cornea and your iris sit. This thing is a cone, so it's going in. The ball goes out, but your iris actually sits inside your eye,
right.
So it's going like in that way.
And your pupil's just a little hole.
Yeah, but this part actually is a lens that sits on top of your eye.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a ball on the ball of your eye. So because of that ball, I've exaggerated it here, of course, just for demonstration purposes. But because of this little bump, your eye, wherever this is sitting, it's going to get that little thing. So if our dude is looking straight at us, the highest point's going to be there. But if he's looking, to the right, it's going to be over a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's
a cool way to like indicate that a person's looking in a direction.
So it's like, it's always like shorthanded, kind of like this. Eyes are usually like, that's why cartoonists shorthand it like they do, is because of that little bump. Okay.
Little bump.
So let me draw in this eye again. So we have this wedge because I'm going to have this person looking straight at us. And a good tip to make your person not look just the most shocked and surprised and terrified is to have, if they're like nice and relaxed, their top eyelid's going to float down a little bit because they're relaxed and they're a little loose. Mm-hmm. So they're going to float down so that a good portion, a little less than half of the cornea and iris and all that is going to be covered by that top lid, and your bottom lid is just going to touch the bottom of your eye. So, and you can, if you don't want to crowd the space too much, you can kind of indicate, like, you don't have to draw it like straight across like a solid line like that. I mean, you can if you want, but I usually just infer it. And it's going down because it's wrapping around the eye. And I usually this is just
indicated a little bit of a tear duct there.
Yeah, right? I usually put in a little bit of a tear duct. I usually tend to, just because it's something I like to draw, I like to pronounce it a little bit more. It doesn't have to be that pronounced. Yeah. And then usually, especially with this pencil, I'll do like a thick line like that, and then I'll cut it in half to get so that you see like the inside and the outside of that bottom lid. You don't have to include it, but you can.
That's cool.
Right?
It's a cool effect.
It's a cool
like
effect.
Something I've noticed you do when you draw.
I like it. It's like my favorite thing to draw.
It doesn't. I tried doing it just now and it didn't work for me, so I'm not gonna do it in mine.
Fair enough.
I'm not as used to using the graphite stick, so
yeah. You don't have to use the graphite stick. I just like it because when you go all big, you can just like,
I've started using it, so I'm gonna keep using it for this.
All right.
But I'm excited because what I want to do when we're done is like I want to show you what I came up with, and I want you to like note it.
Okay, I like that. So then so the way that your skull works, we're gonna I'm just gonna draw a skull real fast.
Get a quick skull in there.
So here's here's like your eye socket.
Spooky.
Spooky. So because this is in, and then your eyeball is going to sit in here, like recessed in here, your skin is going to go in and then back out a little bit because it wants to kind of bridge the gap between your eye and your cheekbone.
Oh.
So that's why, you know, you get this bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's usually where shading sits. So if you want to do it without making your person look too tired, you can do it a little bit, or you can do it on the outside like that. Mm-hmm. And that will indicate that under the eyeball, because again, it's wrapping in. And then if you put your fingers here, you'll feel the beginnings of, you know, where your eye socket ends. Boop, 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 boop.
Right there.
Right there.
Soft.
You can
little...
feel your bone.
Don't
right
touch
there.
it too hard.
Don't touch it too hard.
You'll squishy your eye.
You'll squishy your eye. Don't hurt your eye. And then for the purposes of this dude, I'm gonna give him this upper eyelid, which, you know, because his eyebrow is so close to his eyeball, it's going to be sitting heavier onto the eye because it's going to droop down. And again, right. This is just for the not everyone has this, obviously, but for the sake of this example,
connected.
Yeah.
Your eyelid moves when you move your eyebrow.
It needs that extra. It needs that extra skin so that when you put your eyebrows up,
loosens, and
it has that spare. So, remember that wedge that I did before?
Yes.
If you go in, that's going to be this part of your eye where kind of my glasses are sitting right now. It's going to be this part. And that always, a good rule is that it's kind of like your tear duct is kind of going to point to it a lot of the time. So it's like in, out, or in, down. Or, you know, sometimes I like to do that little out thing because, you know, you have that little bump sometimes.
It's a little bridge of your nose zone.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what you have. You can do that on this side as well. You can draw another eye here. And again, your eyes don't have to be perfectly the same. Not everyone, you know, almost no one has eyes that are exactly the same on both sides. If you look at like actors or actresses that have really interesting faces, it's usually because their features are not exactly perfectly symmetrical. So we'll do a little bit of this.
Do a little bit of this.
Okay.
Add the stuff. Do the things.
Boop, boop.
Had that duct again.
I actually have this a little too far out, so I'm just gonna bring that in. Okay. There we go.
These little bits, like we did on the other one. Oh man, this is looking good.
Yeah. And then sometimes I like to draw this little line here, but you don't have to. There was another thing I was gonna do. Oh, so a nice little detail that says, I kind of know what I'm talking about, is that you have there's skin that comes here and wraps around your tear duct a little bit.
Oh.
So if you really want to get into some like nitty gritties, you can do that. And then sometimes, you know, you'll have the backs of the eyes.
I made my eyes bigger
that
than
kind
you
of
did.
Sit here. That's okay.
My guy has big eyes.
That's fine. Okay, so then this nose part, bottom of the nose. Mm-hmm. If you do a little straight line here.
Yeah.
And then you can go boop, boop, a little bit. You can just have some little diagonals.
It's important that you make the boop noises when you do it.
Make the boop noises, very important. And then a nice rule is that your nostrils, especially in this average model where everything lines up, your nostrils line up with your tear ducts if you go straight up. So if you go straight down, I think I made my eyes actually too small, so you're probably fine. you have your nostril space. Also,
Okay.
your eyes are one eye width apart,
Yes.
which is interesting. So I probably messed that up. Let's
You
see.
were showing me some of these like
Yeah,
reference images you were using,
I'm gonna nudge everything
and
inside.
there's like one of them was just a face where all of the proportions are measured in terms of eye width, and it just looks like a nightmare face covered in eyes.
Yeah, and it's because like if you want the perfectly symmetrical face, you yeah, my eyes are a little too small. That's okay. You can take your eye and then move it in this direction, and then your eye is one diagonal eye width down to your nose. But
Yeah.
my no one's drawing is going to be perfectly accurate to the thing unless you're like really measuring out the gecko. But for the purposes of this, my dude's not going to fit all of the exact measurements, and that's fine.
Did you say measuring out the gecko?
Did I say the what?
What
From
did
the
you say?
get-go.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
I was like, is this an expression I've never heard? Measuring out the gecko.
I would mess up an expression, to be fair.
I just thought it was like an art expression. I was like, oh yeah, when
I'm
you're
measuring
drawing,
out the gecko.
when you're drawing the gecko, the Geico gecko.
The Geico gecko, yeah.
This stream brought to you by Geico. No, this stream brought to you by you guys.
By you guys did this.
We're doing it because of you.
You did
because
this.
you signed up. You gave us money. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Or if you're watching in the future, just hi.
Hi.
And thanks for watching anyway.
Hi, thanks for watching. So, your ears. I said before.
Wait. You did some nose stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did the V, and then I lined up the nostrils with the tear ducts.
Uh-huh.
And then I did a little swoop for the nostril. You're not going to see too much because you're looking straight on. But you are going to see a little bit of the inside of the nostrils because they turn up a little bit. Your noses tend to stick up a little bit, so you'll see a little indication of nose. Of nostril. And then I these are just lines that I like to put in for flavor.
Okay.
Because the way that the skin from your nose goes onto your skull, that's how it kind of maps out, is that you get this like triangle.
Okay.
It helps for when you're shading.
Sure.
Ears. Your ears, the tops of your ears line up with your eyebrows, and then the bottom of your ears line up with your nose.
Yes. I remember that one.
So
I knew that one.
you want to tilt this in a little bit on the sides.
G shape. We're gonna draw those
yeah.
G's.
You can draw the little G shape. Well.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It just looked like a G to me, but it's because
it like once you explained it, I understood. I just drew it going the wrong way.
That's fine.
You told it the first time. I was like, I guess.
Tips for ears. I don't have any. I memorized my own ear, but you can start off with a little G, and then you get this. Ears tend to have this little wraparound, so you can draw this, and then
I don't have that, so my earbuds fall out.
On my left ear, I have this thing called a cat's ear. It's where it's broken and it's missing that wraparound section, but my other ear has it. So I have this little broken cat's ear thing. But then you have these two things that kind of protect your ear canal in drum. You usually have this little thing. So you can always draw this little like boop boop. And
Julia,
then
this is already one of the best faces I've ever drawn.
Yay!
I'm so excited to show you.
It's just
I'm just following your instructions and it's working for me.
It's very
exciting.
It's just like when you know generally where things are going to line up, it's like it helps significantly if you kind of know where things are going to be.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go a little bit past the nose, and then we're gonna make this shape. I know that, we talked about the cone before.
Is that little like where the jaws starts coming in? Is that line up right with the bottom of the circle?
Yeah, typically.
Okay.
It does typically line up with that bottom of that circle. Sometimes it lines up. Yeah, because it's usually a little bit like your jaw goes down below your ear. Like if you look at it again, you get this little space. Because again, when you have like the skull, you have this bone here, and then you have this little open space where your ear sits, and this is like
Right.
your bottom jaw, right?
Yes.
Um,
It's a little hinge.
so you have this negative space, so that's why it goes down a little bit more. Oop, there we
Right.
go. So you have this little hingy guy, so that's why this goes down a little bit more.
Cool. Oh, you already finished drawing the whole. Wow, you go so fast.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. And then, how far down do you like? What sort of reference are you using, or like measurement are you using to decide where the chin is?
I always have a hard time explaining this because I'm not 100% sure. I know that people draw this cone, right, where it points, and then that will kind of give you the width of your chin. Some people like to draw the mouth before they draw the rest of this because your mouth, so the corners of your mouth, I have a small mouth, so it doesn't work on me as well, but the corners of your mouth usually line up with about the middle of your eyes.
Right.
So if you go, straight down, you have this little dip in the middle. Goes up and then it goes back down, and then usually tapers up like this. I'm going to move this up because you can already eyeball and see that it's a little long.
It's a little low.
And
okay, so that's like, it's like the same distance below the edge of the circle as the nose is above it, it looks like.
Yeah, I would say that. But usually the rule here is that your mouth is the midway point between the bottom of your nose and your chin. Your mouth is halfway through. If you have a bigger chin, yeah. If you have a bigger,
up to the bottom of that circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Because then you get this little thing that's evolving out of humans, which is very interesting, and I'm fascinated by it.
What thing?
This thing?
It's evolving out?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
If you see older movies, everyone has it really pronounced and it's really strong, and the shadow in there is like super cool. And now it's like becoming softer and softer, and some people don't have it.
Cool.
So if you want to go halfway down, then you can get this chin. I usually give my people a little bit stronger chins, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go a little bit wider, actually. There we go. I usually just eyeball chins at this point, and I'm sorry that I don't know a better way of how to explain it.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I mean, this is like what I do too. I just, for people watching, wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing any sort of measuring that I'm not aware of.
So I'm going to draw out the rest of this ear because I realized that I didn't. Okay. Whoop. Okay.
Oh yeah, we got to do the other ear.
A lot of what's going on with humans' ears is to protect things from getting inside of it. So that's why you have that roll. That's why you have that little flap over the eardrum. And I think if you remember that, it's like, oh, and then the stuff on the inside, like this round part, is to direct and trap noise in there. So
great.
And then people got, I don't really have it that much, but dudes have it more pronounced, where I shouldn't say that, but they have that little square space here, and then it goes down into like sideburns, and you get only a little indication of that here, and then you mostly don't see sideburns from the front. So you kind of want to like hug it here.
Hug it.
Hug it.
Just hug that face.
And then, you know, depending on the thickness of the hair, you can go out as much as you want for the purposes of keeping this, you know, anatomically correct. I'll keep it kind of close to this circle here. You want to go up.
So so the hair, sorry, I made my hair go way too far in. So like, it sort of comes in right up to where the edge of the eyebrow is. Like
Yeah.
that far edge, it like lines up.
We'll see when we do a side angle later. If you have like your eyebrow sits like this, sideburns usually do this, where it's like you have this little bit of padding in between. But from the front, it would overlap a little bit because your head rounds.
Yes. Right.
So yeah, so then you can go up with your hair, and then again, this is your hairline. Some people have a widow's peak. Some people go straight across. And you generally just want to follow this like circle.
Nice.
And then, you know, if
this guy a slight peak.
If your person has short hair, you just want to follow that circle. Also, skulls, human skulls, aren't perfectly round at the top. They get flat. So, like, a human skull does, again, I'm going to draw another skull. There you go. There's that little space.
We call this stream Julia draws so many skulls.
I draw so many skulls, but it like rounds here, and you can see it very specifically on women, or women who have like rounder foreheads, I guess I should say. Mm-hmm. You can see like where the edge of this like skull line comes, so it's like this, and then it goes kind of straight back and then down, and this would be a side view, you know. And this is where the ear would sit, and the rest of the skull. Yeah. The dude that I drew definitely is wanted for a crime, but that's okay. So then necklines, if you want to do necklines here, is that you have these two muscles here that you can see when you turn your head. You can see it here, this band.
Yeah.
So it starts from your collarbone, the middle of your collarbone, and wraps up just behind your ear. But unless you got a really thick neck, which I have an example of someone with a really thick neck.
Like the guy Jacob drew.
Like the guy Jacob drew, yeah. And then sometimes I'll draw that
episode.
And it wraps in. And then if you want to do cheekbones, you can kind of follow this circle line. You don't have to. Sometimes I just like to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. I mean, it's right there. The circle's right there.
Yeah.
Just follow it. Yeah.
It's very satisfying. This is for like the little temple area. It usually sits from the front. It looks like it sits just above the little bend of the eyebrows. Yeah. And then if you want to, I don't know, it's, you know, have fun with some hairstyles.
Style that hair.
If you want. But yeah, that's generally how I draw faces.
And the way the neck sort of connects to the shoulders, because this is something that I have trouble with.
Yeah.
Because you've drawn, it sort of like slopes at...
Oh, so that's a good question. So you have these neck muscles here, and then you have your trapezius, which is this muscle. You can't really see it because I'm wearing a suit. But you have this neck muscle here that wraps actually behind your other neck muscles. Mm-hmm. So you have this general shape, and then you have your trapezius. For people who are super strong, it like kind of
your traps
bubbles out. Yeah, the traps. bubbles out like that. But, you know, when you're relaxed, it kind of does this slope. So if you want, it would be like, you know, here's your head, here's the cone of your neck, I guess, and then, you know, this little collarbone, which sits perfectly aligned in the center. And then if you go straight across, it kind of like bridges this gap a little bit. So you have your shoulders here, right? And then you have, you know, your trapezius slopes between the neck.
Yeah.
See?
Yes. That's important.
So if we're cool to move on to a side view, I just want to, and this part will be super fast because it uses the rune that we went over right in the beginning of this, which is this green circle. So I'm gonna draw over this green circle with purple. So this is your center line. If this is your center line, you know, you have another line. Let's use yellow. You have a line here. That's hard to see. Orange. You have a line here and a line here as well. Because that's the ones that your, you know, ears are sitting on in the drawing.
Right.
So we're making this circle into quarters. So if you're seeing this from up top, you have the little spike here. Like this is where that front, well, this is, okay. This is where that ear is. If this wraps around, it would be one line like this, and then you get that purple, and this is like the front of your face. Right?
Yes.
So if we want to do a side view, we use the exact same proportions that we just learned. To line everything up. So we have the circle. We have, what did I use for the front? Purple. I have purple for the front, and that slants back a little bit. And then we have orange for where your ear sits, which is half of the circle again, because again, we're just cutting this into quarters because we're seeing half. We're seeing a half view. So it looks very similar to this. Whoops, not him.
Oh, it's Mr. Cavill.
It's Mr. Cavill. I thought he would be a good example because knowing me, I would always draw a handsome man. So
yeah.
Cut this in half again. That's where your eyebrows are gonna sit.
Okay,
you know,
we're drawing a fully new
side,
rune, or
yeah, a side.
We're just sort of
Yeah, we're using.
So far, okay.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'll show you using the old rune how to draw the side of your face.
Rune. I don't want to draw a whole new rune.
Don't draw a whole new rune. You don't gotta, because it's the exact same rune. So, but instead, the orange one's going to be the front, and the orange one's going to be the back of the head. So this is where your eyebrow sits. Whoops, I am using a weird brush. So your eyebrow is going to sit on this line.
Okay.
Right. And because, you know, we're seeing it from the side, it's going to wrap and we're only going to see part of this eyebrow, right? So, whoop, this goes down a little bit.
So it goes, yeah.
So
it goes right up to where that.
It actually goes back a bit more.
Okay.
Sorry, I was talking too much.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to follow along.
I appreciate it.
Cause like, you're basically like that little crook in the eyebrow. That like indicates sort of where the different planes on your face change. Yeah. Like.
Yeah, so like this is the front, this is going to be like the whole side of your head.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to draw, or some people like to draw, if they have a face, they love to work with these planes where it's like this, and then if you drew a box around the head.
Yes.
It's like,
head box.
This is where all the complicated stuff is.
Yeah, and your eyes actually like sit right on that like line where the two planes hit each other.
And then it's just flat.
Which is why they look like sort of olives when you look at them from the front, but triangles when you look at them from the side.
Yeah. Then you want to go in a little bit. Well, let's get to the eye in a second, actually.
Okay.
So eyebrow ridges, especially on strong dudes, you have this kind of ridge. I'm not a strong dude, so I don't have that eyebrow bump, but I like to draw it because it's a nice little indication.
It's fun. It's fun to draw.
It's fun to draw. And then remember that little V shape from here where I said, this tear duct points into this?
Mm-hmm.
That's because this part is the part that slopes back into your head.
Right. That V shape is like a receding.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like from the side.
So then again, you're going to have like your eye, kind of sit inward. And again, because, if we draw the skull again, because your eye sits in your eye socket, your eyebrow is going to be much more forward than your eye. Yeah. So always remember, because a lot of people make the mistake of putting your eye like here. Just remember that it sits inward. And then another important thing with eyes is that remember that your eye, since your eye is a circle and then you have another like little cap on it and then you have your iris. If you're seeing it from the side, your iris and your pupil sit inward, so you get this inward disc. So don't draw your eye bulging out like this, because then you're drawing like the clear lens. So yes. you want to have it in, and then you have your little tear duct that you can sometimes see. Whoops, there we go. And then you can draw that under eyelid. You can draw the upper eyelid if you want.
Yes, yes.
And you don't want to cut into, when you're doing the outside of the head profile, you don't want to cut into your circle here. You want to work outside of it, because this circle emulates the skull, kind of. Your skull isn't a perfect circle, it's actually kind of longer. So you always want to build on top of your skull.
Build on top of your skull. Don't chisel out of it.
Don't chisel out of it. So
Don't
then
chisel out your skull, guys.
If you want to really like building block your nose, you can make this little wedge shape, alongside that outside line that we did.
Yeah.
So then, your nose rounds out. And, there's lots of interesting noses. You can have curved noses. You can have, the ones that have, like, the bump here.
A little bumpus. Yeah, I love adding that bump.
Yeah, it adds a lot of character. It's really cool. I very rarely draw a nose that's this perfectly straight. But, again, we're drawing the average, the artist average with which...
We're drawing the artist average here.
We measure everything.
Yeah.
So then, line up your nostril with your tear duct. And then we have your nostril here.
And that's like right under the curvature.
Because if you measure straight down from your tear duct, you get the edge of your nostril. Like that.
Yeah.
So then your upper lip will come out from, right here. With an example that I chose very specifically because he has a very pronounced upper lip. You can always measure this like negative space. If you're drawing like a model from your life, you can always measure this negative space angle. Negative space. But usually I like to draw this little line in my head and then have this upper lip kind of wrap down into there. And then from here, a slightly shallower angle than this upper lip line.
Looks like he's saying,
Then you have it go down and then up and around.
Down and up and around. And there's some lips.
And then you can go, you can follow the same shape basically for your lower lip and just do this chin. And then I made that chin way too big. I draw my dudes all strong as hell.
Yeah, I always give people bigger chins in profile.
Yeah.
That's
And then
just
you get this little
something
Adam's
about
apple.
me.
I like to work with a lot of angles, so I'll always include like a little Adam's apple, or not always, but I'll include a little Adam's apple and stuff like that. So you don't have to. And this is always shallower than you think it is. You always think it goes like way back in, but you got a lot of stuff in here. You got a lot of stuff going on in your neck.
Yeah.
So your ear, I said it lines up perfectly with your eyebrow and your nostril, and it sits behind this purple line. And a lot of people have it on an angle. Some people have it straight. I like to draw my ears on an angle. Whoops.
Whoops.
My brush turned into a move tool.
That'll happen.
All of a sudden. So, do this. And this, again, I have no tips for drawing ears. I'm so sorry. It's just memorization.
Draw that G.
Yeah, you can think of it as a little G. I just have my ear memorized, and I'm sorry I have no tips. But I feel like distance needs to be a little bit more. So I'm just going to push that back a little bit more. Some people I know sit it kind of like halfway, which might be true, but I draw my dudes. Maybe I should do that. I draw my dudes with really long faces. So maybe I'll move that ear back.
Face.
Long face. Oh, I forgot to draw this lip line. Again, go to the middle of the eye. There you go. Just have it sloping down a little bit for resting face. Lines up at this middle of the eye. And then I talked about that box that people have. And this is, again, just something you'll see when you use reference and blah, blah, blah. And then you have this wrapped up, and then you want to go out because the skull is not a perfect circle. It's like, here's your skull, and then it goes back a bit.
Yeah.
So you want to give it a little bit more.
Yes.
Than what you see in. Right? There we go. I gave him a lot. And then, your spine. And then if you want, you can draw that hinge where your jaw is, and then it swoops in. And then you can always draw, since we're looking at the side, this neck muscle that I said wraps to the front. But see, we use the exact same rune because everything kind of just... Everything on the, like, the major things of the face that you measure everything from, where the nose line is, to the ear... It's always like a quarter. That's why when people say like it's a 3/4 view, it's because you're seeing 3/4 of the head, because it's, so like each one of these sections, like this is a quarter, this is another quarter. If you keep rotating, you would get the third and the fourth. So from the ear to the nose is one quarter, from the ear to the perfect center of the back of your head, that's 1/4, and then keep tilting, and there you go.
And there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think of when I'm looking at faces.
Cool.
Right? So now I have examples of faces, and now I can show you the breakdown on faces where it's different or where it does work. And I tried my best to get photos that are straight on or up the side or whatever, because it's hard to Google perfectly, straightforward reference, but I tried my best, or, perfectly side. So because I started off drawing a strong dude, I thought, why not? Let's get a strong dude in here first.
Let's get him in there.
Let's get him in here. So I'm going to pull out my neon green again, just so everyone can see where everything's kind of lining up. And Henry Cavill here.
What a specimen.
What a specimen. He has a very strong square face, which means all of his proportions are a little bit squished in my little circle rune. But here's what the breakdown kind of looks like. And again, this isn't a perfectly straight on shot. And you can tell this because his ears are sitting perfectly below where his eyebrows are, and the bottom of his ears are below where his nose is.
Yeah, man, his face is like a really good example. Like you can really see where the planes of the face, like the lighting in this is like a perfect, like everything that the light's hitting is one plane, and then everything that's in shadow.
Yeah, everything the light touches.
Yeah.
See, it's like this. Like this is all round, right? This is all flat as heck.
Yeah.
So I thought he was a good example because he's so extremely angular and square. So anything that's like very angular is easier to measure, in my opinion. So
Sure.
we have this circle, and then we're going to split this down the middle and see his nose in between his eyebrows. I'm actually going to shift this over a little bit. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. So then if we split the circle again in half, you'll see that his eyebrows sit just like above this line. But then, you know, we split this in half. And again, it's a little bit off because he's facing a little bit to the side.
He's doing a bit of a look.
Yeah.
And you can see, again, like you can see where the peak of the
because it's doing
the eyes are. Yeah.
It's doing this.
That's where he's looking.
So you get this plane, you get this plane. Again, his nose is a little bit higher, and then his hairline starts there, right? So that's just like the breakdown. So if you were to draw this yourself, you know, you would start off with, let's just bust this out. Bust it
out. Just do it.
Let's do a little circle. Let's
Draw
do a little
Cavill.
half. We'll split this in half again. We'll, you know, we know from this that it's a little bit higher. He has a little bit of a shorter nose because his face is very like, you know, we'll go straight down. You know, you have this. Let's start off the eyebrows, actually. We know that the eyebrows sit a little bit above this line. It's making this shape. Is this making sense to everyone, by the way? Nathan, is this making sense to you?
It's making sense to me. I also have like a bit of a art education background. I wasn't an art major, but like I've taken art courses and I've looked at this stuff.
So Chad, is this making sense? Okay, people are saying yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Like, you know, you're doing tricks to indicate a 3D shape in 2 dimensions. And so you have to like know what lines do when they're like going away from you, but you're looking straight at them.
Right.
They, like make certain shapes and like that. And these
it's
are
also
just like ways of conceptualizing that.
Yeah. It's also
easier.
It's just so that everything fits in a little box. So when you look at something, you know generally where things are going to be. But if you're like, this person has a bigger forehead, you know how to do that. You know how far to push it because you know your bases. Like, again, no one's going to fit into that average, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mathematical ideal, but it
gives you an idea of like
so it makes it easier to break down
from
a face when you're looking at it, or when you're trying to draw it, or when someone is trying to describe to you a human face. You know what, you know, if someone's like, they have big eyes, you're like, okay, here's the basis. I have to go a little bit bigger than that. What's the shape? This and that. So,
and
again,
his nose is like doing the exact thing that you were, like the way you drew it with like the stuff on the outside.
Yeah, Henry, old Henry here, my friend Henry.
Good old Henry.
Good old Henry.
Our pal Henry.
he follows a lot of like how I draw dudes, which is why I kind of picked him, because it would be easier to translate. And then I have some more examples for everyone, but I just wanted to pick a very one-to-one example with what I was going to do. So this is what I do when I'm drawing people on my free time, is that I do this little face breakdown in my head. Okay. Does anyone have any questions in the chat before I keep moving on, or?
Oh yeah, let's see.
Are we good?
I'm looking.
I have some more examples after this that, you know, we're gonna break down some more people's faces. I have a woman that we're gonna look at. For around your face.
Do you have any tips about eye shape?
So eye shape, a lot of different factors go in for eye shape. So like I said, you have, did I draw? Yeah, I did. Of course I did. So you have the eye here. So building block eye shape, right? Actually, I'll draw an eye from the front. So if we have a building block eye shape, right? We get, here's your eyeball. Right. You have the skin that wraps around. So like I said earlier, is it's going to almost touch the pupil. That's going to be your upper eyelid. And this is going to just smooch the bottom of that. Just a gentle smooch. And then you have your tear duct, which kind of goes down from here, but generally continues this upper shape. And then you have indications, if you're also looking at it straight on, you have indications of this eyelid down here. Then you have this, which kind of, you know, you have, whoops. Then you have this, which would follow the rest of the eyeball. You know, and then a lot of people, some people have like this thing that shows, and that's because it's either the skull or because it's following the eyeball. There's a lot of different factors that go in. Like Steve Buscemi's eyes kind of are so distinct because they sit further forward onto his skull, but he's so gaunt that you can see,
they do
like,
a big bulge, yeah.
Yeah, like the eye socket, basically.
Yeah.
So you see
that's
that.
And then it, wow.
Yeah.
That's a Buscemi.
And that's a Buscemi. Then you get the people who don't have that, or, you know, some people don't have the upper eyelid. It depends on, like, if you're drawing someone from reference, you kind of have to see, like, you know, the general eye shape, or like I have very, very big and round eyes, so you get kind of this. And then if you have eyebrows that sit really low to the eye, you'll get
squish.
Yeah, you'll get this upper eyelid, the extra skin kind of cuts into the eye, like oh my god, who's the actor who plays Lee Scoresby in Golden Compass? He has that. What's his name? He's really famous.
I don't watch the show, the Golden Compass show.
No, not the show. Sam Elliott. I'm thinking of Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott has some droopy eyes.
Sometimes you eat the bar. Sometimes, well, he eats you.
And then you have people who are older. Oh, also a good thing, a tip with eyes is that since your eye, as we discussed, goes out, but then, you know, all of this sits in. If you're doing like a close-up of an eye, first of all, put the pupil further back into this. So like, let me explain this a little bit better.
The pupil is a hole.
The pupil is
not a dot, it's a hole.
So if you were to
light's
draw
coming in.
this little olive, it wouldn't be here because it's sitting into your eye. It sits back because it's a cone.
Yeah.
This whole shape here is a cone. Like, it radiates out, and then this part is a hole where all the light filters in.
Yeah.
So when you're shading, that means like if light is coming from here, that means that since this eyelid is protecting the eye, it's sitting on top of the eye, it's going to block some of that sunlight. That's when you get this thing. That's when you get some shadow here. And then so that means that your highlight is going to be down there, right? If you have light that's coming in from here, that means that this is going to be darker because it's a cone.
Yeah.
And then this is going to be your highlight. And then again, you can, well, it wouldn't be that dark, but you can shade that. So that's a good tip.
A lot of people are sharing their drawings that they've been doing along with us in the art class.
Oh, nice.
Discord chat.
Nice. And then there's Wrinkles. You get laugh lines, which are from like when you smile, your cheeks go up, which pushes all your skin into your eyes, which means that you get it kind of like wrinkles like fabric next to your eyes. So when your eye is resting, you'll get, you know, these little crow's feet, as they're called. And then because people who are older are a little bit more dehydrated, quite literally, you get your the elasticity leaves the skin, so that means that things just kind of sit there. So you'll get like heavy bags, or you'll get those people that, you know, get these lines from these bags.
This is really cool, Julia. You
Thanks.
don't delete them. Save it.
Okay, I'll save it.
Save it. It's good. Can I
yeah.
Can I share my draw alongs?
Yeah, I want to see. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to share, and then we can get back to drawing Mr. Kabeel.
I'm gonna stop share.
But I just want to share what I've been doing.
Whoa.
So
let me move this. Let me move this over. It's not letting me move it over. Here we go. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it felt.
I love that nose.
It felt really good to do. This is my Rune. And then this is my straight on.
That's awesome.
View.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, it like definitely helps to draw along. It's like back to basics, which I never, you know, in school never spent a ton of time on, because I was like, I know how to draw, and now later on I'm like, I wish I'd spent more time just like drilling this stuff in.
Something that I get a lot from people is that they are mimicking a style, but they don't know why. Like, we just got a question in the chat that's, can you speak to which parts of the anime eye correspond to which part is a realistic eye? I have a hard time parsing which parts are which.
All right, let me get back to you. I just wanted to share, but
that's awesome.
You're doing the
thank you for that.
Leading it.
It's always nice to see. I like seeing people's work. So I have to share my screen again with you. Huh. Here you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people say that they know how to do the shortcuts, but they don't know why they do it. So they always have a hard time. So they have to copy exactly a reference because they're not understanding. Mm-hmm. Anime eyes. Well, it depends what kind of anime eyes we're looking at.
There's a bunch of different. Like there's sort of a look they all have, but there's a lot of variation between.
Yeah, I mean,
which is
cool
to see.
So there's this, which, you know, you can see.
Yeah, that's sort of like standard chibi.
Yeah,
looking.
This is the highlight for where the light's hitting, which is why you have this darker outline here, because you have that cone. You know, again, light here. Cone says this would be darker. That's why you get that depth. This one's pretty straightforward. It's just the eye squished and made tall. I'm trying to think of my favorite eyes are JoJo eyes
Oh, they're really good. Yeah.
because they're so like one to one. I mean, they're like my favorite eyes to draw because I understand them the most and they require the least amount of characterization or like zhuzhing up, I guess. Caricaturing. Let me pull up I'm pulling up some reference.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Like here you
Oh
go.
yeah. Giorno. And I love that, like, even from like season to season, the way he draws faces and eyes change slightly.
Yeah.
Like this season, he really accentuates the lashes and like the area around the eye.
Like there's one of my favorite examples is looking at the person who drew the Hikaru no Go manga. Their art, you can tell they were like had like a good grasp of art, and then you can tell that they like really threw themselves into studying the basics because then they just start drawing like the most realistic people as that goes on.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and then you see how they translate what they know. But see, here's
like
that
with
here's
the
a little...
with these eyes, there's like they're like straight across the top. Like they don't have like they're not
Right.
perfectly round across the top. They have this like sort of straight line that they do.
Yeah, and I think that's to give it some sort of mood, like really
Mhm.
enforce the intensity, and to kind of keep that kind of anime tradition a little bit, because some people will do that, but he likes to do that.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so strong and geometric. I'm gonna keep on trucking with
Keep on drawing this Henry.
Mr. Henry here,
Strong Henry.
just to emphasize what we went over, so you can see, like, okay, so again, those, because it's wrapping around, because he's looking up very slightly, you can see that does actually line up. It's just because we could see more of the bottom of his nose, that indicates that he's looking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Go straight down. Go straight down. All right, then we have this. I'm just gonna rush this a little bit, so it's not gonna be the best, but it's just to reinforce what we learned earlier. And then I'll show like the 3/4 with Mr. Cavill here. And then, he has this little swoop, which follows this.
Oh yeah, someone was asking about like what sort of line tricks you use to indicate hairstyles, which is something that I think you do really well.
Thanks. So, as per usual with how I do art, I think about how the thing works, because I think that understanding how the thing works allows you to play with it a little bit more. It's like the same kind of thought process that goes into understanding, the basics, so you can play around with it.
Mm-hmm.
So for this, you have, his hair, the way that he styled his hair, because hair will sit, normally, or his hair would normally sit probably straight and flat down if he wasn't styling it. So what he did is that he brushed his hair back, and you can see that through like the direction that these hairs are going. And then here you can see that he kind of just, did like this thing where he pushes it up into the side, because you have these like chunks, and then you have this hair going this way. So you can see from this. So usually what I'll do is that, since now I understand what the hair is doing, I'll do some, maybe I'll draw the big chunk like that, and really, like I'm drawing basically this, like here's where he parted it, and here's where he started going this way, and here's where it changes direction like drastically. And then I'll start doing, like that. And because the highlight is here, you can see a lot more individual strands up here that you can down here. I go with the lighting and kind of just...
So yeah, you like direction
I
and then lighting.
How he would have, you know, styled it, you know, and I try to get that general shape. And then if, you know, again, the lighting is very like forward, like it's coming from this camera basically, that means all the shadow is going to be back here. So I kind of go darker here and then follow that, you know, general shape. All right, I'm gonna finish drawing this. This lines up with like the bottom of his nostril.
Man, everyone's stuff they're sharing in the Discord looks really good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Like you're definitely helping people with like a foundation. Like there's clearly like different levels of practice that just like, you know, confidence and practice will help, but like you're practicing the right stuff.
Yeah, I think it never hurts to practice your basics. Yeah, I'm like practicing them all the time.
If you're you like I've seen some people say they like understand this in theory, but like in practice it's not working out. Like that's just, if it's your first time trying to draw like this, it's not gonna be perfect just because like it's a skill, it's muscle, it's your arm and hand and wrist they need to practice doing it.
Yeah, and you need to train your eye to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like there's going to be a gap between what you're doing and how you want it to look. And no matter how good you get at a skill, that gap will remain. But you will improve if you practice.
The only way you can guarantee that you won't get better at something is by stopping.
There you go.
Yeah, and then he has some, you know, distinct lines that make him, like the you know, this thing, he has that strong muscle and the cheekbones that come from there. Or as someone once said, skin funnel.
I was referring to the shape of the skin.
This thing? Yeah.
I was just referring to the shape it looked like the skin was making where there wasn't hair. It looked like a funnel. It looked like if you took a funnel and flattened it out. But you know,
I liked it. I still think about it sometimes. Yeah. And now sometimes when I draw faces,
a funnel of skin between, because it's a little triangle, but then it did like a little anyway. Not important.
I like it. But yeah, he has a few lines that make him very him. His forehead's a little bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, but this is
basically it. I think his chin's a little bigger too.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
he's got just like a big old
head. He's just a big square. He's a big meaty square.
Yeah.
He's a big meaty square, and he's a joy for me to draw every time because he fits.
Yeah. He makes sense.
He makes sense. He just makes sense according to the rune, and he fits my geometric style of drawing. It's actually a little bit wider, so. And then you get also this little like chin thing.
But man, like I really love how like interested all of y'all watching are in improving, and like you're already just scanning all of the stuff in the Discord. Like you're already starting from a good place. Like this is all really cool to see. And you'll only get better the more you do.
Yeah. Something that I just like to do with this brush is that since it has so much texture, and if you just like overlap it, you can get this kind of like beardy.
Oh, that's a beardy.
That's a beardy shape And then sometimes if you really want to put in a little detail, go back in with an eraser and just...
Ooh.
Especially here because you get those little lines. You know?
Yeah, and they look so sharp in contrast to like all the soft lines of this graphite stick. You can get some real cool effects.
Yeah. And then
there he is.
There's Mr.
That's our guy.
Mr. Cavill. I think I made his face a little too short.
Yeah.
But
you can always, I mean, this is one of the best things about drawing digitally is you can just be like, I kind of got it right. It's just not quite in the right spot.
There we go.
Just doing that, it already looks more like him.
Yeah.
And then also his eyes are like a light color. So
yeah,
like that's like a difference between this and
there you go.
the photo. But yeah.
And then I can do like a little bit of a...
You get the idea.
You get the idea.
That's the guy.
And then sometimes when I practice, I like to take the reference and kind of slip it under.
Just see
wow.
After you moved it, it's perfect.
Yeah. Because I was drawing the eyebrows on the line because that's my habit. But as we discovered from doing the rune over it, it's, he's looking up. So it's going to be a little on top, like above it.
Yeah, you just made his forehead a little bit wider.
Yeah, I did. Because that's where I think I was doing an example of how to draw hair, so I wasn't paying as close attention as I probably should have. Because you know,
it's also just like because he's turning slightly to our right.
There we go.
There's a little bit less of the forehead, but that was really cool, Julia. Just like all of the features slid exactly into place. That was really cool.
That's what you get when you follow the rune.
Yeah.
You know, and then you see what features move around, you know. So, you know, I fixed that hair a little bit. I mean, I still have to, there we go. But yeah, it's generally, whoops, I drew that on the wrong layer, huh? Welcome to Photoshop.
That'll happen.
No
matter how many times you've drawn, you will draw something on the wrong layer in Photoshop. That is a guarantee.
Yeah. So, then for another example that I have,
everyone in chat is just talking about how impressive that was when you slid it over and it worked perfect.
So because we have knowledge from the rune from before, now you can draw him from the side angle using the same measurements, right?
Yeah.
So you have down the center, and again his face is slightly pointed upwards, and you can tell this because look at the ear, look at the eyebrow.
Once you have these like guides, you can use them to see like, okay, it looks like he's looking up, but let me just check. Oh yeah, he is. He's looking up at exactly this angle. Yeah,
so I can, you know, for the purposes of this, I can rotate it. Is that about right?
Yep.
I've gotten pretty good at eyeballing centers and
it's
straight
very
lines.
pleasing. It's very pleasing to see someone so practiced just be able to like do this stuff, Julia, I have to say.
Thanks. So we have that. Okay. We have that tilt back a little bit. So, all right. So this is where as we know from the previous thing, his eyebrow is going to sit above this line a little bit, right? And then it tapers off. Okay. The weird being able to find the exact medium and the exact like if everything lines up is a weird like personal skill of mine. I feel like everyone has one thing that they're weirdly good at. Like my dad's really good at knowing the exact distance of things.
Oh, interesting.
Like when he's watching soccer, he's like, I think that's about, I don't know, 7 feet. And the announcer would be like, that's about 7 feet. I'm like, how the hell? How the hell, Dad?
Yeah.
So his, you know.
I spent my youth drawing elephants and dinosaurs, so that's.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd be able to break them down into Rune's quite the same way, but
No.
for my draw class, I'll probably be doing something about animals,
I'm
drawing
so excited for
animals.
your draw class because that is something that I am not good at. Is also like I don't know how to break things down into basic shapes.
It's like it's the same idea. It's just like understanding,
Yeah.
understanding the sort of basic proportions of like a quadruped, like skeleton, and how
Right.
that, and then you can sort of extrapolate. I'm obviously not as practiced at that as you are at drawing faces, but like it can,
I feel like I've
we're
had more
trying to,
opportunity to draw faces than you have had to draw dinosaurs, you know.
at least as an adult.
At least as an adult. That is true.
I drew so many dinosaurs as a kid. I would draw like every scale too. I would really get into it. I
That's
don't
awesome.
know where that patience went. As a child, I would like, yeah, man. I'd be like, this Stegosaurus, I gotta draw every scale. I gotta draw. Man, I wonder if any of that stuff is like around somewhere. I'm sure it's like super faded and smudged now because I was just doing like real soft pencil on sketch paper. But
Yeah. Notebook paper that has lines all over it. That was my thing. Yeah, I did this weird thing as a child where I really whenever I wanted to be really good at something, I would lock myself in my room for the day and just force myself to learn the thing. So I remember I really wanted to learn the proportions of a face, but without using like books. I don't know what was wrong with me. I locked myself in my room for 8 hours and drew one headshot from a magazine, and I still have that drawing. It's
wow.
okay, but I didn't eat or leave my room. I just focused for uh, 8 hours.
Impressive.
It's impressive, and also I wish I could speak to child me.
And be like, you can
Be like,
chill out a
you
little.
don't have to.
You don't have to.
You
But
don't
at the
have
same
to.
time, you'll be able to really impress some people on YouTube
Yeah.
when you're in your 30s.
Yeah. Okay. So, whoops, that was a little long.
It's a little long. A
Bring
bit
this
long.
a bit long. Yeah. So but again,
Yeah, I've stopped drawing along. I'm just enjoying this
That's
right
fine.
along with the audience now. I'm like, you know what? I did my
You did your
art
part.
homework. Now
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying this.
So if we break this down into the circle, we have this.
Therapeutic.
Here's the center, so he's in between here. Yeah, I'm just kind of going like trying to reiterate because I think something that's helpful is to see it in practice, like when you're looking at like basically how I look at people when I'm drawing them. I'll think of the rune in my head, like I'll break it down to this circle, this middle line, like where do things line up with the lines?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like cool to see you like draw a pretend person just like constructed out from the circle and then see how you can then use it to make sense of drawing from life.
Right. So, but I'm just gonna rush through this so we can move on to the next example.
And
But
yeah, again with the hair, you're like blocking in the sort of basic shape of it
like
first.
I see like this line, I see this. I'm doing like the general like, oh, that's how that's doing, and then I'm kind of just getting the shape in.
Yeah,
You know, that's what I see when I'm looking at it, and then we'll
and then, like the way it moves.
Yeah, and then this part kind of goes. He's like slicked it back. And then
He
this
really
part
is
goes
just
this.
like he's done us a favor. He's done all artists a favor by existing
Yeah,
looking the way he does because it really provides a lot of great examples for a lot of different things.
exactly. So then,
This Julia, this drawing looks more like Henry Cavill than this this photograph does.
Yeah, the photo, he looks a little...
It's like the photo doesn't look a ton like him, but the drawing looks more like him. I don't know how you did that.
I don't know. Let's do the slide. I drew it a little bit bigger. Let's see.
Just a little bigger, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a breakdown.
Good.
It's a little
pretty dang good, Julia.
It's pretty okay, you know, for a
Yours
quick...
a little further back, but that's something you even mentioned when we were doing the
yeah,
the
I have that
profiles,
weakness.
You tend to draw the ear a little bit forward.
Especially if I'm working quickly, I'll, you know.
Yeah, it's a little further back and a little bigger.
It's my habits. So I also picked out this 3/4 view because
3/4 view, good, important. We did the straight on, we did the profile, but the 3/4 view is like, that's like your bread and butter as an artist.
I love the 3/4 view.
And that's like a good way of really showing you understand the way like the face works.
The face breakdown.
Yeah.
So 3/4 view follows everything we learned. So you have the center, your center of your face, in between your eyebrows. Let's go to the center of the circle. Let's just follow that. There's your...
There he is.
We've split it in half.
Yep.
Huzzah, hooray. Then we could do that again. On the other side, just mirror this shape here. There's a quarter. You've quartered it out.
You've quartered it out. You've done it.
You've done it.
You're an artist now.
You've created that head massager.
You put his head in a cage.
Yeah, you put his head in a cage. Again, his head is at kind of an angle, like that. But if we were to go across, you know.
Is this the Derek Kale Karina mentioned? No, this is all Henry.
This is all Henry so far. So then bottom of the nose, you know, again, we're following, since he's only pivoting, all of the measurements horizontally are going to be the same. The only things that are changing are the things that are pivoting horizontally. So like this center line, if you were to follow it, like if this pen is your center line, follow it. That's that center line. Like it's just gonna rotate. Yeah, so if we break this down, let's break it down.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, it's about that. It's about that. So again, split this in half. You got the eyebrows. Let's follow the center line. And for noses, it's hard to describe, but when you have, let me pull out the pencil tool for this. When you want to draw noses like in space, like
noses in space.
Noses in space. It's going to be a triangle that sits on.
Yeah, it's coming at us a little bit.
It's coming at us a little bit, so it sits like that. So you can always think of noses like that. So it's like
it's coming at us, and so you're drawing. Yeah, you're seeing it
like that.
You're seeing it like that. You're seeing a bit of the bottom, which is a little. It looks like a little trapezoid on the bottom, and then it's a little triangle up top. There's like the part of it that's coming right at us, and then you're seeing part of the side as well in the bottom.
Yeah.
Little pyramid, little floaty pyramid that we're looking up at.
Pyramid. Also, some people have like a little ball at the end of their nose. Henry does.
It's coming at us like Cleopatra's, exactly.
Exactly.
She also liked pyramids, so.
I would love if she was like one of the few that was just like, you know, I feel like pyramids are our style.
What if we had another side?
Yeah.
What if 4 sides?
Like unheard of. Cannot. Only pyramid. So then again, he's looking this way.
Every time the door creaks, Mad Hat Trick's dog stands alert. That's a good dog.
Yeah.
Dog's ready.
But here's that little wedge
I've got a
shape.
railroad apartment, so Emily's gonna be, if she wants to get to the kitchen to get a snack, she's got to come through. And that's just life,
That's
you know?
just life. You can see the bottom of that eyelid. And then you get that tear duct that kind of follows there. But yeah, it's I just thought this would be a important angle to kind of, show the example of
If you can
following the 3/4 or
if you
following
can
the
do the
lines.
3/4, that's like the real
Yeah.
way to show you understand how the head makes sense in 3D space and how to indicate that using a 2D medium, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's like a really good thing to practice and understand.
There's
Because
also
it's like
things. Yeah. Sorry.
oh no, just like because that's drawing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's tricks.
Yeah.
It's eye tricks. It's making sense of 3D shapes
In a 2D plane.
In a 2D plane, and like a 3/4 view of a face is like a great way to practice that.
Yeah. I think also something that's important is that if you're struggling with an area of the face, like for some reason these guidelines aren't working for you, or you have like a weird angle that you don't know how to measure something, is something that I did a lot in college, is that and I still carry it over a little bit into my work, but a little bit less so. I've learned how to edit it, is that I will use these things as guidelines, like these shadows and these shapes. Like if I don't know the distance between, sometimes I'll draw this wrinkle that sometimes happens, you know, and that'll give me like a little measurement, or I'll
it like
follow
goes
this.
Right where the
like I'll throw that in here, and then I'm like, okay, what's the negative space between this line that I drew and this eye? Let's bring it over, And so there's always things that you can use to measure or to help you.
Yeah. Like if you have any two sort of like parts of the face down, you can always just sort of draw a line from each of them and see like where it intersects.
Yeah.
And that can like show you where something else goes. I remember that was like a technique that I learned in one of the art classes I took, for just like using what you've already drawn to measure out where the rest of the stuff goes. Because then even if it's not 100% right, at least proportionally, it'll be right.
Yeah. Like you can measure this cheekbone of like where does it hit on the nose or the ear or whatever, like the apex of this cheekbone, and then you can follow it across. And I wasn't as careful with this drawing as I was the other ones, just because I want to move on to a different example. But
are we going till 5, or how long are we doing?
Yeah, I think we're going until 5. I mean, maybe we'll go a little bit over if I feel like I haven't wrapped everything up, but
sure. You're the one you're teacher, so you can have class go as long as you want. Professor, I must get to lunch.
No. Learn the rune. You must learn the rune first.
I'm ever so hungry.
Shut up. Where's your rune?
They're always out of tots by the time I get there. I say I was doing the rune, and they say, well, you missed the tots yet again.
You still haven't gotten better at your runes, have you?
I'm just thinking about tots, Mum.
Some of those wrinkles I was talking about. Also, something that I wanted to cover in this that maybe I should just do now is like editing what you see, because sometimes people have a problem with aging up people. And I think that's because people see like, okay, this is coming out and then it's kind of going back in and then it's coming out. And they'll be like, okay, and they'll really exaggerate it. Or they'll see these lines. Like, you don't have to draw everything that you see. You just have to kind of edit and kind of find what the important parts are. So like this, let's add it. He might because, we don't have that much information because, again, we're editing so that it's on a 2D space.
Mm-hmm.
If we do want to age him up, that's great. But if we're not, then maybe just don't include those.
Yeah.
Like, wrinkles make people look old. This shadow here can make people look old. That's something that I learned from taking. I had to take fashion courses, fashion illustration courses at college, or in college. And that's something I learned there, was like editing, especially with women, is that my professor was basically like, typically women don't want to look significantly older than
leave
do.
Some stuff out.
So edit. And then
courtesy,
if they want that sort of character, that more, those extra features, then you can always add it, But try to find what are the important things that makes that person look like that person and put those in.
Going back to like the JoJo's example, like Araki, like each season, I feel like he picks a different facial feature to accentuate.
Really?
Like in part 5, he really goes after that sort of area, like
here
between the eyes and the nose, and like
yeah.
the shadow that forms there, in a way that he like doesn't really do in other seasons. And like other seasons, he's like really focused on like the jawline or like cheekbones.
Mm-hmm.
Or like this season is like very much about like everybody's got this sort of like shadow, this like very sharp shadow around their nose.
Right.
Oh, I'm deep into part 5 at this point, everybody. Just so you all know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we recorded a bunch of episodes before I started part 5, but I am like, I think I've got, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes left. It's good. Part 4 is still my favorite, I think, just because it's the goofiest. All the other parts are like way more serious, I feel like, and some people don't like that about part 4, but
but you do.
I love it. It's just like a bunch of vignettes that don't, like, the stakes are so low in part 4, I feel like, except for like the very end when like serial killers get involved. But
oh goodness,
even then it's like the stakes are like the safety of this one small town versus
the
like
stakes have never been lower.
Yeah, I love a real low stakes but high intensity.
Yeah.
And like that's what part 4 does so well.
That's awesome.
Anyway, sorry to make
That's
this
okay.
Sorry to talk about JoJo while you're trying to teach. But
yeah,
I'll take any excuse to talk about JoJo.
I've definitely caricatured his face a little bit because I was trying to work a little bit faster, but this is, and then he has, some of his skin is bunching up here because of the tightness
doing a bit of a turn.
He's doing a turn and the tightness of the collar. But yeah, this is Henry. Let's do a little. This probably won't be super accurate, but let's see.
It's still pretty dang good. It's pretty good, Julia.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. His chin is even more exaggerated in real life than you drew it.
Yep, I gotta go out more. Oh well. Well,
man, what a face.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Great face, Henry. If there's one takeaway from this class, it's that Henry Cavill.
Good face, Henry Cavill.
Has a great face to practice drawing.
So I'm not going to draw this one, but I will map out kind of the circle here. So I chose this wild angle where he's looking down, So his head, his center line is here,
Mm-hmm.
and then his eye line would be here, and his eyebrow line a little above that. So yeah, so you can see where everything would kind of line up here.
Yeah.
So you would see more of the hair. The nose would be below the circle. The eyes move down in the circle. The eyebrows as well. Let's do a lovely lady face.
Oh.
Lupita. Wonderful Lupita. Let's do a nice little breakdown of Lupita's face.
Okay.
Because she is someone who follows the rune to a T.
She's got a good face.
She has a great face. Eyebrow line. Center of the face. Here's your nose line. Hair above
Hairline
this.
is actually above. Yeah,
It is. Again, because I'm getting these images offline, I'm not getting the exact reference that I would like to get, but that
pretty dang close.
Yeah, the ears are her ears are a little bit smaller.
She got little ears. They don't go all the way down to the nose.
Little ears. They're also up a little bit because I think her head's a little bit tilted.
The top looks like it lines up with the eyebrows, but the bottom doesn't.
Yeah, she's got little ears.
She's got little ears. Sometimes people have little ears.
Sometimes people got little ears. But you see her eyes sit perfectly in this half-half.
Yeah.
In this little quadrant. So her face is it's a lovely face.
Yeah.
It's a lovely
so smooth.
Face.
The exact opposite in terms of like no hard angles. It's all just like, well,
yeah.
The profile though, that chin.
Here's what I was talking about with the skull shape, particularly for some women, for good portion of women, is that you can see we don't have this bump as much or as often.
It's very smooth.
It's very smooth, and it follows this circle, and then it will flatten out here. I mean, you can't see it because she has some dope big hair, but yeah, but again, you
have the proportions.
Yeah, the proportions. Let's just nestle that in there.
Yeah.
There we go. Whoops. Let's make that a little bit smaller so it's not blocking the face.
There you
go. Yeah, and then she's there. It's almost equidistant nose and hairline. We'll split this in half. Her ear sits back here. So then we have, let's move the rune over. We'll draw. We'll follow. What is happening? Oh, I'm using a blender. There we go. A blending tool.
You're using Blender.
I'm using Blender.
That's
not
a different.
again.
That's a different episode.
So she's got this cool sloped nose. Slopes up. It's always hard for me to draw lots of curves, as we all know. I'm an angular.
Yeah, you're ending the stream on a real challenge.
Yeah, it is. But I hope this helped everyone. We have like 10 minutes left. If anyone has any specific questions, I'll keep drawing Lupita.
I'll check chat if anybody's got any questions. I will.
Cat is here.
Speak them out for you.
So this kind of lines up. She has a shallower nose.
And once again, thank you all so much for your support on Patreon.
Yeah, thank you so much for signing up for the Can You Believe to Learn tier and up. We have some really great classes lined up.
People do want to see the cat.
Oh, you want to see Olive? She's over there now. She's cleaning. Oh. Olive! She's like, what?
how do we translate these proportions to cartoon styles? That seems like a topic for like a whole nother
I think Jacob was
stream.
going to cover that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's like,
I think he was going to,
because there's so many different cartoon styles, and like you can really talk about. But
people
like,
were asking how you translate like the face rune and the face proportions to like a cartoon proportions, and I was saying I think that you were gonna touch on that.
Yeah, that's like,
probably.
Yeah,
I think there's a, that's quite a topic.
Yeah.
So good question. And we will cover that another time because there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I can't cover that now. I'm just giving you the base. It's kind of like, you know, cartoon styles are just editing what you find important or what you find interesting to draw.
Yeah,
or like what makes it expressive.
Yeah, a lot of them is just like make the eyes bigger.
Like, yeah, so that it's easier to show expressions.
Make that part bigger, and then like, it seems like with a lot of cartoon styles, it's like if you make one part bigger, it sort of squishes other parts together. So like with that sort of chibi anime style, the eyes get really big, the nose and mouth get sort of like squished lower, nose, mouth, chin all get sort of like squished lower down. And you could probably see, like, if you were to break that down using the rune, you'd be like, okay, so like the eyes take up like a third of the face, and then the nose, mouth, chin take up another third of the face, and then like the forehead takes up the rest of it, or something like that. You know, this is me guessing because we're not. But yeah, you can do this same sort of thing with cartoon characters and see what the proportions are, and it's going to be different for different cartoons.
Yeah, you just kind of have to map it out. I know that every animated like cartoon will have their own style guide, and it's like how you would break it down, how like the specific rune for that show. Like it would still have the circle with the middle line and the quarters lines and stuff like that. So
a question about how like this rune, because we've drawn basically all the faces we've drawn are very neutral expressions. Like how does it, and again, this might also be another topic for a whole nother stream, but just like using the rune to like draw more expressive faces.
Well, so if you have the rune,
if you have the rune,
and you know you have this, and let's say you say, you know, your neutral position is this. It's kind of a downward. If you want surprised, you would take that rune and just push it, you know, and then so
push
you
it
have
real good.
Push it real good, and you just have to remember kind of how the muscles on the face kind of pull it, like, you know, your
like,
eyebrows are gonna get.
Yeah, you know where they sit when they're resting. So it's like if you're surprised, it's like, okay, the eyebrows go higher up than they would if they were in their like neutral position.
Right, but you would still keep the center of it, like these eyes. The center of these eyes will always sit on the same line.
Yeah, they'll get bigger.
But they'll just get like bigger because your eyebrows are pulling your top eyelids away from where they're sitting on your eyes, so those will go up, so those will get bigger, and then like maybe your jaw will drop a little bit, which would pull your bottom eyelid away from the bottom of your eye. Or, you know, if the character is laughing, everything gets like scrunched a little bit, but the center of your eyes are not going to move.
And you kind of went over that a little bit when you were like talking just about specifically about the eyes. You like drew some good examples of like the different expressions that just the eyes will make. But yeah, the whole face. Yeah,
like the cheeks will gather there, which will push the bottom eyelids up into the eyes and stuff like that. So
it's tension and compression.
Yeah.
As you have tension on certain parts, you get compression on other parts.
Yeah.
And you know, you have this sort of base that you can refer back to as like, okay, this is what it looks like when there's relatively no tension or compression happening.
You need the neutral building block shape as you're
if one
saying.
part is getting stretched, it means another part necessarily is going to be squished.
Right. Like you have the building blocks, you know what it looks like at resting. What does it look like breaking those rules? Like your eyebrows go up and away from that eyebrow line. Your, you know, your mouth, like I said, hits kind of the center of your eyes. So when you're smiling, it goes out wider and like things get scrunched. So you need to have the building blocks, the basis, the neutral, the zero.
The neutral.
In order to have the 10 or the negative 10, you know. So, yeah. Lupita has such a cool face to draw.
Yeah,
I
for
feel
anyone,
like I'm not doing her justice, but
for anyone just joining, this stream was very much just about like drawing realistic looking faces and like understanding the proportions, and like sort of where things go. But these are all great topics that we will most certainly cover on future draw classes. I saw people talking about maybe a Halloween body horror draw class.
I could do that because it's all just knowing how things are constructed and playing with it and exaggerating it, or like it's
moving
all like
them around so they're like just in that uncanny valley of like possible but unsettling.
Well, it's also like because you know how it's supposed to look and you can almost like feel it, and you can get that across of like this is how it feels because it's drawn with a knowledge of how it's made or built or the foundations of it.
The more knowledge you bring to it, the more you can like really create.
The more rooted in reality it is, the easier it is to freak people out.
Yep. And that's why
people
you're
are more scared of things you know. People are more scared of things that they've interacted with than things that are completely new, because they're like, I've never encountered this thing before, why am I scared of it?
Yep.
You know. But
it's an the improv idea of just like creating a base reality so that the unusual thing has something to contrast against.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like in a scene, if everything is absurd, there's no foothold, but it's like this is a job interview, but there's one unusual thing, which I feel like you do like really well, like just in terms of visual comedy with your drawings. It's like you'll draw like my favorite example is the Bloodborne episode where you drew a face, like a really good just like man face, and then you just split it in half. Like that's like if the face you had drawn hadn't been so well constructed, the effect of splitting it in half wouldn't have hit as hard as it did.
Right. So I think again, apologies to Lupita here. I felt like I rushed this, but I hope this was a good example, and I hope this was helpful to everyone. Again, this is for everyone. People in the chat were asking questions, and they were able to watch this because they subscribed to the Patreon to get the drawing tier. So if you want to participate in the next one, we always let people know beforehand what the subject's going to be. So
if you can only do
like
1 month, and like that's one that you really want to be able to ask questions for, like, you know,
then
you can
join
do
for
that
month, or you know, it'll be made available later. Yeah.
If you're watching this in the future, thanks for stopping by. We hope this has been helpful for you as well, and we appreciate your viewership.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who subscribed to the Patreon, and thank you to everyone for just generally joining anyway. I would love to see people's drawings. So send them to me on Twitter or on the Discord. We have a specific Drawclass channel for people who are, in those tiers. So yeah, again, thank you so much to everyone. Let me know how this goes for everyone. This is just how I draw faces. Play around with it, have fun with it. If you're off from the rune, that's okay.
That's okay. It just means you need to practice more.
Yeah, and also, again, faces don't line up perfectly with the rune. Even square, geometric, angle man Henry Cavill is a little off the rune. The only person who's perfectly on the rune is perfect-looking Lupita Nyong'o. So
there you go.
So unless you're her. But I think that's it. Nathan, thank you for helping and joining and drawing along and
this was a treat.
Field the chat.
I want to be part of as many of these draw classes as I can.
I'm going to be watching each one.
Because
I'm so excited.
I love it. I feel like I learned so much from all of you every time we draw together, and so getting to just like focus on that and talk about it is really nice.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm very excited for future ones. That's it. That's it from us.
That's it. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining again, and we will see you next month for a different draw class that we will announce soon.
Sorry.